in a future where only one force can save humanity. The Fifth Element became one of the most iconic sci-fi films of the 90s. But nearly 30 years later, what happened to the cast? Let's find out where they are today. Number 1. Bruce Willis as Korben Dallas. The taxi door swings open, and amid the chaotic, futuristic city of the 23rd century, Korben Dallas bursts onto the screen like a reluctant hero carrying both exhaustion and a warrior's instinct. When he joined the film, Bruce Willis was around 40 years old, right at the peak of his post-Die Hard era, and Luc Besson placed the entire heartbeat of the story into that cold, steely gaze. In the film, Korben transforms from a lonely former special operative into humanity's final link when Leeloo unexpectedly crashes into his cab. From the police chase on the flying highway, the encounter with Father Cornelius, to the fateful journey to Floston Paradise, Bruce pulls viewers through every level of tension with a very human kind of heroism. Irritated, doubtful, yet always acting at the perfect moment. It is the moment he holds Leeloo in the ancient stone chamber, using love to activate the Fifth Element, that turned this role into an immortal sci-fi icon. After the film, Bruce continued to dominate Hollywood with a string of blockbusters, but his personal life was also filled with storms, including his high-profile divorce from Demi Moore and later career controversies. By 2026, he is 71 years old and has retired from acting following a neurodegenerative disease diagnosis, making the image of Korben Dallas even more haunting. The man who once saved the world now lives quietly in the memories of cinema and fans. Number 2. Milla Jovovich as Leeloo. Some characters do not enter a film through dialogue, but through a fateful fall from the sky, and Milla Jovovich's Leeloo is exactly that kind of moment. When she embodied the Fifth Element, Milla was only 20 years old, bringing an otherworldly beauty and wild energy that made the entire futuristic world of the Fifth Element come alive. Leeloo's journey in the film is an intensely cinematic chain of emotional evolution. From the perfect being reconstructed in the laboratory, she escapes the military, learns to trust Korben, then explodes into action in the battle against the Mangalores aboard the space cruise ship. The high-speed action scenes, the way she learns human language, and her reaction to humanity's history of war all make Leeloo not just the savior, but the emotional heart of the film. The role stands out because Milla almost created an entirely new life form, from a private language of over 400 words to a presence that is both fragile and deadly. In real life, the biggest drama was also tied directly to this film. Her romance with director Luc Besson blossomed on set, leading to marriage and then divorce in 1999. By 2026, she is 50 years old and remains a beloved sci-fi action face. But Leeloo will forever remind audiences that sometimes the one who saves the world is also the one just learning how to understand it. Number 3. Gary Oldman as Jean-Baptiste Emanuel Zorg. Not every villain needs to shout to spread fear. Sometimes Gary Oldman's calm voice and crooked smile are enough to make an entire galaxy uneasy. When he took on the role of Zorg, Gary was 37 years old, in one of the most transformative phases of his career, and he turned a genius businessman into one of the strangest villains in sci-fi history. In the film, Zorg does not appear constantly, but every time he enters the frame, he pushes the story into a new level of danger, manipulating the Mangalores to steal the elemental stones, bargaining with the Dark Force, setting traps aboard the Floston cruise ship, and nearly causing Korben to fail because of a timed bomb. What makes the role stand out is its perfect contrast: bizarre hair, luxurious suits, razor-sharp intelligence, and an almost inhuman cruelty. After the film, Gary continued conquering cinema with countless unforgettable roles and later won an Oscar. But real life also brought many storms through loud divorces and years of media scrutiny over his chaotic personal life. By 2026, he is 68 years old and is still considered one of the finest transformative actors in the world. And whenever Zorg turns and smiles in viewers' memories, it remains the smile of a cinematic nightmare that has never grown old. Number 4. Holm as Father Vito Cornelius. Some characters do not need to hold a gun to save the world, only to guard a secret long enough for the right person to appear. And Father Vito Cornelius is the intellectual soul of the Fifth Element. When he stepped into the role of the priest scholar guarding the legend of the Five Elements, Holm was already 65 years old, carrying the presence of a British stage legend that made every line sound like an ancient prophecy. In the film, Cornelius is the first to realize that Leeloo is not just a mysterious girl, but the very key to saving Earth. He follows the trail of the elemental stones, sends Korben into a journey even he himself does not yet understand, and guides the entire storyline storyline, from the chaotic apartment in future New York to the glowing Floston paradise. Every step Cornelius takes carries tension. The scene where he disguises himself to infiltrate, the encounters with the Mangalores, the helplessness as Zorg nears victory, and finally the moment he places absolute faith in Korben. The role stands out because Holm turns a guide character into the emotional center of the legend. Both witty and sacred, after the film, he continued to shine as Bilbo Baggins, but his personal life also saw many changes with 3 divorces before remarrying. By 2026, Holm had passed away in 2020 at the age of 88, leaving a huge void in British cinema, and every time Cornelius looks at Leeloo with hope in his eyes, viewers can still feel the warmth of a great storyteller. Number 5. Chris Tucker as Ruby Rhod. Some characters only need to appear for the entire film to change color, rhythm, and atmosphere. Chris Tucker's Ruby Rhod is exactly that kind of explosion. In 1997, Tucker was around 25 years old, young, daring, and bursting with energy, delivering an interplanetary host who became a pop culture icon within minutes of screen time. Ruby storms into the second half of the film like a whirlwind of sound, from the chaotic radio show aboard the ship, to his signature screams, to the moment he is accidentally pulled into the chase against the Mangalores at Floston Paradise. What makes the role stand out is not just the humor, but the way Ruby accidentally becomes the witness to the film's most dangerous moments, from Leeloo launching into battle, Korben facing terrorists, to the ship exploding in chaos. Tucker turned a supporting character into one of the film's greatest trademarks thanks to his lightning-fast delivery and nearly impossible-to-copy energy. After that success, he reached the top with Rush Hour. But real life also brought drama through multi-million-dollar tax troubles and a long career slowdown. By 2026, Chris Tucker is 54 years old and is still remembered most for Ruby Rhod, the character who turned a future world stretched tight as a wire into a crazy, glamorous, and unforgettable stage. Number 6. Tommy Lister Jr. as President Lindberg. As cosmic darkness slowly swallowed Earth, a deep voice and commanding face echoed from the command center. President Lindberg did not appear often, but every time he was on screen, it felt like the fates of the planet rested on his shoulders. At the time, Tommy Lister Jr. was 38 years old, with a towering physical presence and signature intense gaze that made the president of Earth feel both trustworthy and burdened by immense pressure. In the film, Lindberg is the one who receives the terrifying news that the great evil is approaching, directly commands the military, listens to Cornelius explain the ancient prophecy, and finally makes the life or death decision to grant Korben Dallas full authority. Even without action scenes, Tommy made every control room sequence feel as heavy as a real war, especially when every weapon system failed against the Dark Force. The role stands out through its sense of strong leadership, giving the film's entire military storyline a solid anchor. After The Fifth Element, Tommy remained famous for playing the terrifying giant in hundreds of other films, but real life also carried tragedy. Declining health and his sudden death in 2020 at age 62 left Hollywood mourning. By 2026, the image of the calm president in the middle of doomsday still feels like a reminder that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in a fist, but in making the right decision when the whole world is about to disappear. Number 7. Charlie Creed Miles as David. Not the central hero, not a legendary villain, but David is the kind of character who keeps the film's rhythm alive, like a quiet bloodstream flowing beneath its glamorous sci-fi surface. When he joined The Fifth Element in 1997, Charlie Creed Miles was just 25 years old, at the perfect age to bring youthful flexibility and a wonderfully confused charm to Cornelius's loyal assistant. In the film, David appears constantly beside the scholar priest, from tracing the secrets of Leeloo, helping search for the elemental stones, to the tense sequences when every clue leads toward Floston Paradise. David's clumsy yet sincere nature makes scenes that could feel heavy with mythology become much more relatable. At every stage, he acts as the bridge between Cornelius and Korben, the messenger of information, the one reacting to danger, and the loyal presence during the key moments as the race against Zorg becomes increasingly intense. The role stands out because Charlie brings youthful energy that softens the film's epic atmosphere. After the movie, he continued a steady career in British television, including Peaky Blinders. While his personal life was often mentioned because of his relationship with Samantha Morton and their daughter, actress Esme Creed Miles. By 2026, Charlie is 54 years old, still working steadily, and David remains the memory of a silent companion, someone who did not save the world with strength, but with unwavering loyalty. Number 8. Brion James as General Munro. Some characters only need a few scenes to make the entire world of the film feel like a real war zone, and Brion James's General Munro is exactly that kind of mark. In 1997, Brion James was 52 years old, carrying the steel-like presence of an actor famous for military men and villains. In The Fifth Element, Munro is one of the first faces representing Earth's military machine, appearing in the emergency meetings as the great evil races straight toward the planet. Every glance and every command he gives creates the sense that every decision now carries life or death consequences. Though his screen time is short, Munro is present during the strategic opening stages, receiving reports, assessing the threat, and creating the apocalyptic atmosphere before Korben is fully drawn into the mission to save the world. The role stands out thanks to Brion's uniquely hard-edged presence, turning the military storyline into a layer of authentic pressure for the film. In real life, Brion was already a legendary Hollywood character actor, recognizable from Blade Runner to 48 Hours. But the greatest tragedy was his sudden death from a heart attack in 1999 at age 54, only 2 years after this film. By 2026, General Munro still brings back the feeling of an era when sci-fi was steeped in military tension, coldness, and the crushing pressure of doomsday alarms. Number 9. Lee Evans as Fog. If Korben Dallas is the one holding the steering wheel of fate, then Fog is the unexpected collision that makes the journey to Floston Paradise even more chaotic and unforgettable. When he appeared in the film, Lee Evans was around 33 years old, at the height of both his acting and British stand-up comedy energy. In the movie, Fog helps Korben along the route to the luxurious space resort, appearing in the second half with a fast, comedic, and slightly clumsy rhythm that perfectly fits Lee Evans. This character helps ease the tension with his frantic nature, while also being present right when major disasters erupt aboard the ship. The Mangalore terrorists, the hunt for the elemental stones, and the presence of Ruby, Rhod, and Leeloo during the life or death battle. Fog may not be the one who changes the plot, but his flexibility gives the Floston storyline more adventure and entertaining pace. After the film, Lee Evans continued exploding on the comedy stage, then surprisingly retired from stand-up to devote time to his family, a decision that left many fans heartbroken. By 2026, he is 62 years old, living far more privately, and the role of Fog still feels like a playful slice in a journey where the whole universe is counting down to the end. Number 10. Luke Perry as Billy Masterson. Every legend needs someone to open the very first door, and in The Fifth Element, Billy Masterson is the spark that awakened a myth sleeping for centuries. When he played the archaeologist in the opening section, Luke Perry was only 30 years old, carrying the polished charm and mystery of a star at the height of his post-Beverly Hills 90,210 fame. Even though he appears only at the beginning, Billy plays an extremely important role. He is the one who, with the archaeological team, discovers the Egyptian temple in 1914 and personally witnesses the legend of the 5 elements and the arrival of the Mondashawans. What Billy sees that day lays the foundation for the entire battle to save Earth 300 years later. The role stands out because Luke Perry gives the opening the feeling of an ancient adventure chapter, instantly pulling viewers into the mystery of the film. Later, Luke continued succeeding on television, but the real-life tragedy hurt audiences more than any screenplay. He passed away in 2019 at age 52 after a massive stroke. By 2026, the image of Billy in the golden desert sands of the opening still feels like a time portal, opening memories of a star gone far too soon yet forever alive in the hearts of movie lovers. From Korben to Billy, those 10 faces did not just make The Fifth Element, they transformed a science fiction film into a living cinematic memory, where then and now always meet in the light of The Fifth Element,